Hello everyone, welcome to Knowledge India once again. In this particular video, we are going to discuss about a product from Spot, which is a NetApp company. Now, all of us have heard about Spot instances, right, in AWS. There are similar instances or similar instance offering in Azure and Google Cloud as well, right? So we all discuss about Spot instances being highly cost effective, right? But we are always worried about that one condition which says that if the price increase happens, your instance can go away, with a notice of 2 minutes, right? So Spot by NetApp actually tries to solve that problem or solve that situation for you with their product Elastigroup. I have invited Shobik here to kind of explain us that what this product does, what are its features, what are some of the new things which have come in this particular product, how can we go ahead and use it, all of that, right? So in this session, we will discuss about all of this along with a hands-on demo. I would request you to go ahead and watch this video till the end. You can go ahead and adjust the playback speed, of course, as you like it. Okay, so all the best, and we'll also tell you at the end of the session that how can you go ahead and get started with this particular product and figure out that whether it works for you. So let's try and understand this product.
Thanks, Mank, for giving this opportunity to present our product before you today. I'll start with a quick introduction. Basically, my name is Shobik Banerjee, and I'm working as a customer success engineer at Spot by NetApp. I am having overall around 10 years of experience in the IT world. I started my life with sort of a DevOps engineer. I'm not sure if the DevOps term was there yet, but yes, production scaling and looking after production issues, solving them. And I have been with NetApp for past 1 year, 6 months now, working as a customer success engineer. And I've been helping customers throughout the world to basically scale their system more optimally and run their products or applications more optimally using the NetApp proprietary products, which are based out of cloud. Right? Mm-hmm. So today, basically, I would like to present before you one of our products, which is called Elastigroup, right? Which we also term as auto-scaling groups on steroids. While I explain the product, I'll come to the point why we call it so, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, without further ado, let's start. Basically, Elastigroup is a product which gives your workloads the cloud infrastructure that they deserve. It's always available, always scalable, and it's always at the lowest possible cost, right? So even before I start with the products, let's just do a review of the cloud pricing models that are out today in the cloud computing world, right? Initially, this pricing model was started by AWS, but recently even Azure or Google are following the same lines, right? We understand there are other cloud providers as well, but as you know, AWS, Azure, and cloud are like the pioneers of cloud computing. So basically, we will concentrate on these three while talking about the products, right?
Yeah, I was actually noticing that Google Cloud is now slowly starting to say, instead of preemptible VMs, exactly, now they are calling that as well Spot. So kind of the same naming convention is coming. So that kind of at least tells one thing, that Spot instance kind of now conveys that meaning, what it represents, right? And nearly everybody is kind of picking up that name. Okay, anyway, yeah, please go ahead.
No, actually that's a very insightful fact, and being the name of our products, or basically the URL where you could find us spot.io. So it's basically easier to convey to our customers at a lot point in time. And yeah, like as you said, Google initially had preemptible, right? Which there was a feature whether within it had a maximum lifetime of 24 hours. So after 24 hours, it was it would have been interrupted, right? So now they are bringing the same concept as basically AWS, where there is like if there's no interruption, it need not go away in 24 hours. It can stay even longer. Right. So basically, they are following the same terminologies and same concepts, which obviously help users to basically use these instances in their products, right? In the infrastructure. So yeah, just to start with, like on demand, right? The first thing that comes to our mind, or basically the best thing about cloud, is the on demand thing, right? So as the name suggests, it is based on the demand of an user or an application, right? So whenever you need an instance, you get it, right? Again, this is like you get it when you want it, but this is the most expensive option in the market out there, right? Number two is basically the reserved capacity, right? Which is where you can reserve. So reserved instances, or basically reserved capacity, comes in terms like in two forms. One is reserved instances and one is saving plans. Reserved instances is basically where you reserve a particular set of instance or type of instance or family, whereas saving plans, you just reserve a usage per hour, right? So basically you are just reserving a particular capacity with the cloud provider, right, for a particular point in time. It can be 1 year or it can be 3 years. So if I talk about AWS, there are two tenures where you can book or you can reserve your capacity. That is, minimum is 1 year and maximum is 3 years, right? And this is obviously good because you get a discount over there, right? And the discounting mechanism starts with the tenure you are reserving it for. It's obviously less for 1 year than it is for 3 years. But there's a catch with it. As you know, in the cloud computing world, we do not know how our organizations or how our applications will look in the next 3 years, right? So it might come with a bit of risk where you are reserving something for 3 years, that after 3 years, does that make sense to you? But in case it does, it's really helpful because it gives a maximum up to 45 to 55% of discount on your on demand, right? And the last but not the least is basically the spot instances. So spot instances are the excess capacity that any cloud provider holds, right? So they can't have like a set of instances for their customers, right? Because they do not know when a customer would scale up or need an excess capacity. So they always need to have something in the reserve, and this is called the excess capacity or the spot instances. So what cloud providers do is they basically lend you these instances at a cheaper rate, right? And when I say cheaper, it's the maximum is about 90% cheaper on demand, like 90% from on demand, which is quite cheaper, right? And basically these you can ask for this at any point in time, but there's a catch here. There is no SLA to these instances, right? Because as these are excess capacity, this can be taken away at any point in time by the cloud provider, right? Giving you up to a 2 minutes notification, right? So like normally if you're using a spot instance, like say you are a customer B, right, who is using a spot instance, and there's a customer A who is using an on-demand instance. Now say at any point in time, customer A needs excess capacity, right? So what the cloud providers will do is basically will take your spot instance and provide to the on-demand customer, right? Because on-demand is, as the name suggests, it's on-demand, and it's quite expensive, so it's given the highest priority, right? So basically, these are the three pricing models on which compute works today for most of the cloud providers. Any questions on this?
I think this is fine. I think most of our folks know about spot pricing, but yeah, the thing as soon as we talk about that caveat that the instances can go away, that's where it's. I mean, it comes like a surprise to people, right? Somebody who hasn't looked at cloud models, when that person gets to know about something like spot, it comes like a surprise. Oh, can somebody really take it away? Then what is the actual use, right? And that's where all the apprehensions start. So I think, as we move ahead, we'll see that's where Spot.io comes in and helps us, right?
Yes, exactly, Mang. So that's the point where we come in as Spot by NetApp. Basically, our products help you to run these run your applications on Spot instances while maintaining availability, right? So just moving forward, I'll come to Elastigroup, right? And before even coming to the product itself, basically our main motto is, as I mentioned, is to help our customers save on their cloud cost, right, while providing availability, right? So what we do is basically we help our customers run their workloads on Spot instances while making sure that this scenario where the instances are taken away do not happen, right? So because as you know, bigger problem with cloud is cloud has been growing exponentially, right? So if you look back a decade, it started with around $10 billion of business, and it's now around $300 billion of business, which is like about to double itself in next 2 or 3 years, right? So it's huge. But this excitement of cloud comes with a cost, and that is maintaining your application cost, right? If you see the on-prem world or the pre-cloud world, getting an instance or getting a resource was not very easy, right? You had permissions in place to procure an instance. But with cloud, it's not the scenario, right? You just need an instance, you get it. And with this comes the problem of over provisioning, or basically using resources which you might not need, right? So we take care of this, and along with that, even the normal scenarios where basically you're running an instance, we help you run a Spot instance, right? Now coming back to the question that, as you said, that's Spot instances basically instances without an SLA and can be taken away at any time. So how do we help you to like not face into the situation of a instance being taken away and facing a downtime, right? So to understand that, basically we run predictive algorithms, right? So it's this Elastigroup is a product which helps you run out your scale out workloads. So for example, your elastic load balancers, your application load balancers, right? So anything that are using virtual machines to run your applications, we help like Elastigroup is a product which help you run certain applications, that sort of applications on Spot instances while providing availability. Now, how do we provide availability? So basically what we have been doing is we have been creating algorithms which is reading the market, right? When I say market, a market is a instance type on a particular availability zone, right? So we read markets, and based upon the usage of a customer, we basically predict when a Spot instance is about to get interrupted, right? And even before this interruption happens, what we do is we launch instance from a separate Spot market, which is not to be interrupted in say X amount of time in future, and we move your application from this instance which is about to go away to the new instance gracefully, right? And then we drain out the old Spot instance.
Right. Just to call this out to everyone, Spot instance is the only instance, is the only pricing model, let's say, where the price actually differs per availability zone, right? Whereas if we pick up other things within a region, availability zone doesn't matter. But in case of Spot instances, like for example, if you pick up Northern Virginia, within that, for every availability zone, the pricing would be different. And I think what Shobik explained now is that the product Elastigroup is able to kind of guess that, let's say you have current workload running in availability zone A within Northern Virginia, and so based on looking at the characteristics of your instances which are running now, this product is able to guess that in X amount of time, or by this time, probably it is going to get interrupted. So before that, it will go ahead and probably launch instances. It will figure out and it will launch the instances in some other availability zone, and it will switch the workload, or switch the traffic to that one, and then let this go away, right?
Yes, exactly, okay. Man. That's correct. Good. And also, just to give you a point, basically we have a mechanism also to run your workloads in an optimal blend of Spot and on-demand instances, right?
Hmm.
So for example, say you are running an application which is behind a load balancer, right? And you want that at least at a point of time 20% of my instances should run on demand, right? Just to have the peace of mind, right?
Yeah.
So we enable those type of features also, where basically you can run a certain amount or certain percentage of your workloads on demand and the rest on spot, right? And another great feature is, say basically there is an instance, right, where we could not find a spot instance, right? We could not find a spot market, right? So naturally a question comes that what happens? Do my application go down? Do the instance goes down? So the answer is no. At that point in time, we have the ability to fall back to on demand, right? So we give availability higher priority, right? And in such a case where basically we are detecting that there is an interruption is about to happen on a spot instance, and we are not able to find a spot instance available, right, to launch your application in that instance, at that scenario we have a mechanism to fall back to on demand, right? So that you get the availability. However, we still keep on checking that if the instance came back again, like if it is available again, right? And once it's available, we switch it back from on demand to spot instance again, to make sure that you are again optimizing cost while maintaining your availability.
Right. Very good. Okay. I would like to ask two questions here. First is, so like, is there some default interval, at which you will keep checking, like the one which you explained now? Let's say a spot was not available and system launches on demand instances. Will it keep checking on some predefined interval, or it is auto, like we can configure it?
No, it is a predefined interval. It's not configurable at user's end. It is basically how the algorithm works. So it's already defined, right? And yeah, you do not have to need. So it is basic. So the best thing about all our products, even Elastigroup, is it is automated. Everything is automated. Once you migrate to Elastigroup, you just forget and like count your savings.
Right.
So most of the part are automated.
Wow. Okay. So customer need not worry about it. And the second part which I wanted to ask was, this was a nice thing which you explained, that of course if it may happen in rare cases that spot instances are not available and we fall back to on demand. In that case, is this thing or this feature is now available across all the three cloud, AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure from spot, or currently it is more with AWS and or I mean, that's a question, whether it is available in all the three now?
No, it is available across all the three cloud providers at this point in time.
Wow. Very good. Very good. Actually, Shobik, the reason why I asked that thing, right, was that if you look at AWS the spot fleet, right? So it somewhat brings this this feature, right? Some part of this feature, I guess, but comes in it. But I don't think I've seen similar thing in Azure and Google Cloud yet. Maybe I don't know, but I think I haven't seen. So that's why I was asking whether with Elastigroup it is happening in all the clouds. That's why that question.
Yeah, basically, see, these are the points where we stand out. Like we provide you the you can run your instances in the multiple, like optimally in all the three instance types, right? Whether it's on demand or spot or reserved instances, right? And also the continuous optimization, it happens continuously to check if there's a way to save money, right? Again, it's totally dependent on you whether you want to choose it or not. We will see when we'll come to the demo or basically go into deep dive. But basically, yes, these are the features which which Elastigroup has a sort of a unique proposal on customers while providing these values.
Super. Yep. Thank you.
So moving on, another very important aspect of Elastigroup is basically spot markets, right? So as I was talking about earlier, that a market designates an instance on an availability zone, right? So when you configure an Elastigroup, right, a very important feature there is a spot market scoring. So as you can see on my screen, This is the heat map, right?
Yeah.
Basically the spot market scoring. So what does the spot market scoring designates? Basically, it assigns you a score based on the instance type on the particular availability zone, right? So what does this score means? So the higher the score is, the higher the probability of an instance to stay without an interruption, right? So again, this is like this score is assigned, by the algorithm that is reading the spot markets and understanding how long an instance can stay without interrupted, right? And there are two parameters on which the scoring is provided. Number one is cost, obviously, and number two is availability, right? So it will take into consideration both the pricing and the availability part, and will show you the instances which should be best fit for your application, right? So for example, in this screen you can see that I have selected a M6 X large instance, right, on an US is 2A, that is 91. Score for this particular instance is 91, right? Whereas if you see this instance on, say, USS 2D is 86, right? So obviously this instance on US East 2A has a higher probability to stay without getting interrupted than US West 2D, while giving you the best savings. Right? So this is how basically you can configure your system to basically select the instances which can, obviously you have to select the instances that can be that will support your workloads or your application, right? But with this you can select multiple spot instances on different spot markets that will help run your application and help run it without getting interrupted for a longer period in time.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Mank?
Yeah, I'm able to understand this. Maybe just 1-2 questions there are.
Sure.
So this heat map is shown to the customer, and then customer gets to specify the availability zones. Probably after looking at it, customer gets to specify the availability zones. That, for example, here, if I look at the second column, I would probably pick up US West 2B and US West 2C. These two I will pick up, right? So, so let's say I pick that up and I move ahead, then, and Elastigroup will launch the instances. But afterwards, when, let's say, because of some reason today 2B and 2C, the instances are getting terminated, or the demand has increased, so Elastigroup will be able to even go ahead and launch it in the other availability zones, right, to maintain the availability if it is available.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a great question, Mayank. And let me tell you this, the first thing that we recommend our customers is select as many instances as you can.
Instance types, you mean?
Yeah, instance types, like basically markets, like instance type on a certain availability zone, right? Because see, the product is designed in such a way that even if you launch or if you select all the instances that are that you can see on the screen that are basically on this heat map right now, still it will launch, like it will give priority to the instance which has a higher score, right? So even if I am selecting everything, it will launch an instance that has a score of 91 rather than launching an instance that has a score of 78, right? But this is just for the just to make our customers cognizant of the fact that how the markets are behaving at a particular point in time, right? And what should be, so if I am selecting 10 instances or 10 markets for my application, which 10 instances should I select? Right? But yes, your question is right, that based on, like, even if I'm selecting 10 different instances, it will like spot markets are tend to change, right? If the score is 91 now, maybe tomorrow the score goes down, right? And score of US West 2B comes up at that point in time, right? If you have selected that particular instance, obviously again Elastigroup will make sure the best instance is launched.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the key thing, right? Though, like, information is being shown based on the current values, you can go ahead and select, and after that you leave it to Elastigroup to figure out the best one and keep launching and shuffling your workload. In that way we can think. You don't have to look at it every day. That's the good
exactly
thing.
So yeah, exactly. So basically, see, we only launch instances that you select, right? So the instances that you would not select, we cannot launch. But again, like you need to, or basically any customer would want to select as many instances as possible, and we will launch, or Elastigroup will take care to launch the best out of those.
Okay. Just to make one point clear before we move to the next thing is, you are saying that, like, just to align it with the, let's say, terminology of AWS, we should select as many availability zones as acceptable to us. That is first thing. And second is, let's say if there are 2-3 different instance types which are acceptable, all those instance types as well. That's what you mean when you say you have to select as many markets as possible, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Right.
We'll come to the, we'll deep dive later once we go to the demo. But yes,
sure.
You are absolutely correct. That's how it is.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so let's just take a look as to how basically Elastigroup works. Right. So first of all, your workloads, once you launch something on Elastigroup. So basically, when I say you launch something, you can either create a Elastigroup from scratch where you can run your application, or you can directly import something that, like, for example, you are running an auto-scaling group on AWS, you can import it directly to Elastigroup, right? It's a seamless migration that happens. So once your Elastigroup is up, say your workloads are running on spot instances, right? So the next thing is basically Elastigroup predicts interruption. So this is again the algorithm or the artificial intelligence that keeps on running on the backend, or the Elastigroup engine is continuously checking it, and it predicts interruption for the spot instances where your workloads are running, right? And once it predicts the interruption, what it does is it spins up a new spot instance, right? So either it can be on the same availability zone, right, or it can be on a different availability zone. So it can be a situation where it may not be the same instance. It may be a bigger instance on the same availability zone if it is cheaper, or if it is better fits your application needs. Right?
Yeah, and maybe I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'll just call this out. Once people look at the spot market pricing, it would be sometimes surprising for people to realize this, that in spot market, it may happen that a bigger instance is costing lesser today than a smaller instance. In normal market, it won't happen, right? Because this is more based on demand and supply. So it may happen that you get a bigger instance type at a lower cost than a smaller one, right? So yeah,
that's a great point to call out, Mank. And even if you look into a situation like this, that for example, say you are running a M4 large instance, right? And say you do not have a spot instance of M4 large available, right? So what would you do? Your next move will be to move into the M4 large on demand, right? But on the other hand, if you see a M4 2x large spot may be cheaper than a M4 large on demand, right? So instead of just even going to on demand, even if you're launching a bigger instance, right, it can be cheaper than the on demand, right? So you are getting better resources with a lesser amount of money, right? And again, as you mentioned, that it depends upon the supply chain demand. So basically at certain point in time, maybe a bigger instance is cheaper than a smaller instance, and it will fit to your needs, right? So yeah, basically this is how. And in case, as I mentioned earlier, that if such a case arises that there are no spot instances, which is like very, very rare, but in case it happens that there are no spot markets available, when like to spin up, we launch a on demand to make sure that you are still maintaining your availability. And like the final step, basically when your application is migrated gracefully to the new instance, the old instance is being drained out. Okay. So this is how basically the Elastigroup lifecycle works, right? Providing you cost optimization along with providing you the availability. Right? And in case if there was a on demand which like spawned up, right, it continuously checks whether the spot instance came back again, and once it comes back, it makes you continuously, like, it moves that on demand instance, like your application running on demand instance to spot instance, making sure you are continually optimized.
Yeah, I think the point number 5 which you are showing current now, That is very unique, and I think takes it to the next level, right? That I
Yeah.
mean, of course, the first thing is that in worst case scenario where you are not able to get Spot, we are able to go to on demand, that too automatically. And not only that, not just it doesn't end there. Once like Elastic Group keeps checking, and as soon as it finds that, oh, now we are gonna get a Spot instance, it comes back to Spot again and starts saving money for you once again. Right.
Yes, exactly, man.
Yep.
So moving on, basically, this is a representation of how your workloads or how basically the usage of your workloads or instances would look if you are using like Spot.io products or without Spot.io products, right? So first of all, without Spot, as you can see, the main problem, as I was talking about earlier, is basically the over provisioning, right? So in the cloud world, if you see the articles, most of the articles written by Flexera or Gartner, you will see one of the major problems is basically over provisioning, right? So as we get resources on just a click of a button, we do not tend to understand if we are over provisioning or not, right? And it also depend upon the roles that you are working in, right? So I like working as a DevOps engineer, or basically waking up on a fine day as an engineer, you do not always need to understand that how much resources or how much amount my resources is costing, right? Your primary objective is that your application should be running without any issues, right? But which things like this causes to over provisioning at some point in time, right? Which, if you are using products like Elastigroup, make sure that you are continuously optimized and you are not over provisioned, right? So as I was saying, that Elastigroup continuously monitors your application usage and moves you back to the instance type that would be best fit for your application, right? So for example, say I am running a application which needs 4 GB of RAM, right? And I have said like initially I have selected an instance which is containing say 8 GB of RAM, right? So I am investing just that 4 GB of RAM. So with Elastigroup, these type of things doesn't happen because it continuously checks your application needs and provide you an architecture which your application would be best fit for, right? So it continuously makes sure that your resources are optimized, your application are working on the resources that it needs.
So
Any questions on this, Matt?
yeah, I was just thinking, but so is there an integration with the, let's say, CloudWatch or other things as well to kind of figure out that how much is the usage of resources?
It's not basically CloudWatch, right? Because you are running the applications on our system, we understand how much application it needs. Though we do not need or we do not look into your application data, but we can read, like if you are talking about a container orchestration or something like that, we understand what level of resources you need to run your application, right? Or basically we look at your historic data and see how much resources you have been utilizing, right? So based on that, obviously it again, there are options which customers can choose, but if you are giving a free hand to the products, it can run your resources optimally, right?
Okay.
And another great feature is, as I have been already talking about, that it runs your instances on like your workloads on the combination of Spot and on demand, right? And not only Spot and on demand, it can also run your applications on reserved instances, right? So I will come to this or I will discuss this in more detail when we see a demo. But yes, we also have an option where you can run your workloads on reserved instances as well. Another feature that basically we have recently launched, this is live with AWS today, and this is called intelligent traffic flow, right? So what it does, as you know, in a normal ELB world, right, the traffic is being distributed based on round robin form, right? So basically there is no like if you are having 5 different instances, normally the instances that are running behind an ELB are of the same types, right? And you distribute the traffic based on the availability of like based on round robin format, right?
Yeah.
But intelligent traffic flow does, this is a feature that we have launched, I think now it's been 6 months now. We provide you a capability where you can select multiple instance types, right, with behind an Elastigroup or behind an ELB, right? And it distributes the traffic based on the number of vCPUs on the machines, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
one ELB can have, say, one X large machine, one 4X large machine, one 8X large machine, right? And when the traffic comes in, it doesn't do a round robin factor. It checks the available limits of vCPUs at this end instances, right? And distributes the load based on that weightage, right? So basically it will send more traffic to a bigger instance rather than a smaller instance. That is how it is designed to.
So this currently works with AWS load balancers, you are saying?
Yes, correctly. This is live with AWS at this point in time, and it works
Okay.
with AWS ELBs. Right?
Okay.
So this is again, this is not mandatory. This is just a choice that if you want to use this feature, you can.
Yeah. I'm just a bit curious on this. This is very interesting feature, which it looks like. But so it's like, I mean, Elastigroup by Spot is more like an orchestration above. Underlying, we have got EC2 instances and load balancer by AWS only. So are you saying that using Elastigroup or as by because of Elastigroup, it is able to change the distribution nature of Amazon load balancer?
So basically, it is not using the same feature of AWS load balancer that you are mentioning. Obviously, see, we just do the capacity provisioning, right? All these application load balancer or the instances are basically native of the cloud provider. And when we are talking about AWS, obviously it is basically running on an AWS load balancer, but yes, it has the ability to change the type of load distribution, or like how normally Amazon or AWS ELB does.
Okay, fine. Yep. I would like to get into this separately in more depth, but I think for now we are good to go ahead. Yeah.
Sure, man. Sure, anytime. Yes, another very interesting feature about Spot instances is basically stateful Spot, right? So initially, when Spot instances were launched, or basically when Elastigroup was launched, it was launched for stateless applications, right? Because as you know, as I've been talking about the nature that we do, we just change the workloads from one instance to another, right? So it normally goes with stateless instances, right? But then we launched Spot with stateful instances as well. And we have been supporting our customers at this point with stateful Spot, right? So how does it work? Basically, so if we talk in AWS terms, basically, there will be an instance to which an EBS volume will be attached, right? And where we will be keeping the data. So basically, there are two types of data volumes where we retain data. Number one is basically the root volume of the instance itself, right? And number two is basically an external volume or an EBS volume, right? So what stateful Spot does is basically it continuously takes snapshots of your EBS volumes or your root volumes, right? And say in case of an interruption, what it does, it basically removes, like detaches that instance from the EBS volume. It brings up a new instance, right? And it basically retains or retrieves the data from the older EBS volume to the newer instance, right? Now there are two ways how this can happen. Number one is basically where you can say a hot EBS migration, right? Where which is only applicable for the EBS volumes, right? So what happens is your EBS volumes remains intact, right? Only the instance that is about to be interrupted is detached, and the new instance comes in, and your EBS volume is being attached to the new instance. Right, so you get a new instance along with the old EBS volume and all the data that has been retained in that EBS volume. Right now, this can only be possible if you are doing this in a single availability zone, right? Because you know EBS volumes are things which are like limited to the same availability zone, right?
Correct.
So what happens if you are moving into a separate availability zone, right? So there's snapshotting comes into picture, right? So you can either select either a hot EBS volume or a snapshotting method, how you want to retain your data. But in case of a snapshotting method, again, as the normal snapshotting works, it will take snapshots within intervals of 10 minutes, right? And we will keep one whole and 3 incremental snapshots. And basically, if a case arises where your instance needs to go away, a new instance is launched and your volume is being recovered from the snapshots. And this is true for your both root and EBS volumes. Right?
Okay.
And we
This is
can
good
maintain,
stuff.
yes, and we can maintain your IP as well. So if you need to maintain a private IP, we can do that as well.
Oh, so
Yep.
there I'm just somewhat surprised because
Mhm.
the first so it's like you will try and repurpose it, because when the first instance goes away, you have to wait for few seconds or minutes for that one to become free, and then only it can be attached here. So that's how it will be done.
Yes. So obviously, in this case, there can be a minute downtime, right? Because we are moving the same resources, but in cases like there are requirements where you, like, for example, if you are not running on a dev machine, on a prod machine, right? If you are running something on a non-prod clusters, there sometimes it becomes important to maintain the same IP ranges or the same IPs for the customer. There you can do that as well, right? So yes, it waits for a certain period in time and then provides you the same IP.
Of course, as a general rule in any architecture, we should try and avoid hard coding IPs or making our application
Exactly.
depend on IPs. But let's say you are
Exactly.
saying worst case, if we have some workload, many of our older workloads, we find such scenarios, right, where the workload was
Legacy
written or developed
systems.
in such a way that IP address is hard coded somewhere. So for such type of
Yes.
things also, now there is a solution where at least there may be small amount of interruption, but still no manual intervention is required. That thing is there at least.
Exactly. That's correct.
Okay, makes sense. Good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on, basically the best part of Elastigroup or any of our products is that it basically goes with infrastructure as code tools, right? You can provision it with CloudFormation, Terraform, which makes your life even easier, right? So basically, in today's date, most of DevOps teams does the provisioning using infrastructure as code tools, right? And Elastigroup integrates with these tools. So yes, you can do that either from a normal API or from Terraform or CloudFormation. You have those options as well.
Okay, good.
And yes, this is just basically thing that how we want to talk about our products, that we CI/CD has been very common nowadays, right? Like with the coming of microservices and like CI/CD has been integral part of everybody's infrastructure. And how we add, or basically the value that we provide along with CI/CD, is basically CO, that is continuous optimization. So these features of Elastigroup that make sure you are continuously optimized along with the CI/CD pipelines that you are already having in your system. Moving forward, this is just one of the testimony basically with one of our, like, from one of our customers. We have been very proudly serving around more than like 1,500 customers today worldwide, and we are very happy to provide this such of customer satisfaction to our customers, and we look forward to do so even further.
Okay.
So yep, that was about the presentation. What we can do, we can just move into a quick demo, right? But if you have any questions, please go ahead and feel free to stop me at any point in time.
No, sure. Go ahead with the demo. I think we will probably take ask questions as we see it.
Sure.
But I think till now it is making good sense. Yeah, and some of the good, nice new features as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll make even more sense once we come to the demo. Because the product overview gives us a like more understanding into each and every products, right?
Sure.
So yeah, this basically, as you can see my screen, this is the landing page of Elastigroup, right? So if you just go to the hamburger sign on the left, these are all the products that are available with Spot by NetApp today. And basically, I think you can see most of us on my background as well. But yes, so for going into Elastigroup, you just select Elastigroup, right? And you you are landed into the dashboard page, right? So on the dashboard page itself, you can see the basic details as to how many Elastic groups are running, how many Spot instances are running, what are the potential cost, what are the savings, all these details, all these granular sort of details you can see on the landing page itself, right? Now, I want to talk about one thing here is basically what is savings, right? So as you can see here, we are saying savings as a 64.41%, right? So savings is basically your on-demand cost minus Spot cost, right?
Okay.
So for example, if I'm running one particular instance, right, for 1 hour on demand, which cost $10, and the same instance running for 1 hour on Spot instance cost $1, right? So your savings is $10 minus $1, that is $9.
And which translates to 90%. I mean, in the example.
Exactly, right? So yes, and basically it shows how many Spot instances are running, how many on demand are running, how many hours Spot has been running, right? What would have been your cost if you are running on demand, right? And what is your actual Spot cost, right? So this type of
so
information.
potential costs actually shows that if you would have, like, let's say if you go ahead and run this whole thing as 100% on demand, then that would be the cost. Whereas actually by using Spot, the actual cost which is coming, that is coming in actual Spot costs heading.
That's true.
Okay. Yep.
And yes, if you move down, you will see the Spot usage, right? As to how has been the Spot usage for your applications. You can see it's month to date, 7 days, 30 days, or maximum of 90 days. Right? And you can also see the Spot hours, ODRs, average instance count, this type of information. So basically, it just gives you an overview of the instance types, or basically the Spot markets that you have been using for your Elastic groups. Next is basically, if you just want to go to the groups or the Elastic groups that are basically running, you go to the groups part, right? And you will see the list of the Elastic groups that are running for your application. Right?
Yeah.
Again,
so if you remember, in the first
no
screen, 7 groups were written. These are those 7
Correct.
groups. Of course, in every group, there can be number of instances running, which is showing up in the instances column.
Exactly. That's
right.
correct.
Okay.
And this is one of our demo account, right, which we use as demo purposes for our customers, right? And so we have been running these instances for long, just to also, so that it's very much evident that how much savings in actual you are getting, right? And basically, we even run our own applications on our own products, right? So we have been consuming our own product as well, and it has been very much helpful for us, right? So as I just showed you, it is giving more than 60% of savings, right? So again, this amount of savings depends upon the type of your needs, the type of your how your architecture is designed, right? How your Elastic group is configured. But yes, it's an average. If you see on a past 90 days or a past 60 days, you will get to see on an average how much you are saving on your applications. So what I'll do is I'll pick one instance or one Elastic group from here, right, which is basically integrated to Elastic, Elastic load balancers, right? So even before I go into that Elastic group, on the top you can see that you have an option to create or to import, right? So basically, you can either directly start create an Elastic group from scratch, right? And if you just want to see the use cases, you will these are the use cases that we support today. You can create an Elastic load balancer, auto scaling group, Elastic beanstalk, right? And these are the integrations that you can do, right? Or what you can do is basically, you can, if in case you have something already running, say you are already running an auto scaling group on your AWS, you can just go to import, and you can just import that particular auto-scaling group or instance into your like Spot by NetApp's Elastigroup.
Oh,
Right.
so it will go and it will capture all the attributes and
Exactly.
then start managing it.
Correct. So in
Okay.
case of an import, the cloud native features, so for example, the VPCs, the security groups, right, the elastic load balancers, everything will be auto imported, right? You do not
Okay.
have to provide anything, right?
Hmm.
So in case you are creating it from scratch, you have to like assign it or create it, right? Though it
Correct.
will be of cloud natives, but in case of import, all those will be automatically imported, all these features.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Mm-hmm.
So we'll just go into this prod US East 1 Elastigroup, right? And so basically this is again, the information that you see on the screen are related to this particular Elastigroup. You can see the number of running instances, for how many hours this has been running. And again, this is selected for this particular time. So this month, like it's month to date, right? And the hours, the potential which we talked about, the same informations with respect to this Elastigroup, you can see over here, right? And once you come to the overview, you can see the informations like which availability zones are running, what AMI you are running, right? What are the load balancers, VPCs, so on and so forth. And you can see various tabs here. Like I'll take you through the tabs, right? You can see the load balancers that are running, right? What type of requests you have been getting, if there has been any errors, what has been the latency, the CPU utilization, these type of informations are all like is available here, right? You can basically see the instances that has been running, right, with the life cycle, right? So as you can see, as of now, all of them are running on Spot, but in case something is running on demand, you will see OD over here.
Oh, okay.
So all these details also you get the particular instance. If you just click on this instance will open in your AWS console. The instance type, availability zone, life cycle, IP, and its health. This type of information you can see on the instances tab.
Shobik, can we go and see the properties of this Elastigroup, like when it was defined, what all values were provided, maybe like what instance type or what availability zones were selected? That way it will be there, no, Sundar?
Yeah, definitely. I'll come to that.
Okay,
Just before that, I'm
sure.
just giving you an overview on how it looks on the landing page.
Sure.
Then we'll get to how to configure or basically edit an Elastigroup.
Okay, sure.
Next is basically the costs, right? So it gives you the daily breakdown of your spends, right? How much on Spot, how much on demand, right? And the cost by pricing and cluster cost, right? So again, it's basically the deployments. You can see the deployments you have that are running on this particular instances, right? You can see that there you can do sort of blue-green deployments as well from Elastigroup. So you can see the number of such instances. Also, you get this type of information from here, right? And also you can see the number of batches, current batch, grace period, health checks, all this granular information you will be able to see from the deployments tab, right? One important part here is basically spot markets, which basically tells you the interruption rates, the distribution, and how much have been your spot instance lifetime, right? So for example, you are running, say, for example, a C5D4X large instance on US East 1A, right? It will show you that what's the average lifetime of this spot instance, right? So this type of granularity also helps customers to understand how the behavior of the instances has been, how it has been running without any interruptions for like since it was enabled.
So this information, what you showed now, that will help the customers in selecting the instance type, right? When let's say they want to create a new Elastigroup or when they want to modify existing one itself, they get to understand, okay, this instance type, there are chances of it being less interrupted. So maybe if it suits my application, let me include it in my Elastigroup definition, correct?
Yeah, so while creating it, those spot market scoring gives you a better understanding. But this is just for your like just to make you cognizant at a later point in time that how the market has been. Like again, it can be an additional knowledge to you. If you want to configure your next Elastigroup based on this understanding, you can do that.
So the instance types which are being shown on this screen, are
Mhm.
they like are they only those instance types which are currently running in my current Elastigroup? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
exactly.
Okay.
Which you have
Okay, makes
selected
sense.
for this Elastigroup.
Makes sense. Then it's more like a feedback for that matter. For example, when I created an Elastigroup, I selected, let's say, 10 instance types, right?
Yes.
Suppose that like as it is going on day 2 to day X, I'm able to come here and see out of those 10 chances which I had taken, which one are performing better and lesser, and that can work more like a feedback for me for future.
That's correct.
Yeah?
That's correct.
Okay. Right. Yep.
Yep. So yeah, and last but not the least, the logs, which are like very much important. So if you want to see any particular logs, you can see from the so again, these are only Elastigroup logs. This is not your application logs or something, but this is when basically you can see how Elastigroup is performing if it is doing a scale up or a scale down, how it is behaving, and based on what all these informations you get from the logs, right?
Right.
And this has a retention retention of 3 months, so you can see any logs that are past 3 months from today, right? So yeah, that's about basically what all things you get to understand from the Elastic groups. Now what we'll do is basically we'll just go into the place where we can edit an Elastic group, or the things that you will get while creating a new Elastic group, right? So for this, you get an actions tab, and in the actions tab, you can just go to edit configuration, right? So this is the page which you get while you are creating an Elastic group as well, right? So on the general page, it's just the name and the region that you want to create your Elastic group on. Again, if you're importing it, this is by default imported, right? The region is by default imported, and you can pick up a name as per your choice.
Okay, so currently, if I'm understanding it right, the scope of one Elastic group is one region. That's how it is.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So yes, basically a Elastic group is defined on a single region. It like, I do not think at this point in time any cloud provider provides you that like capability to run any application which goes beyond a region, right? So you can run it in a region within multiple availability zones.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, what I was just trying to make clear was that if, let's say, somebody wants to actually have 2 deployments, and that too in 2 different regions, it would mean that person has to just go ahead and define 2 different Elastic groups, as simple as that. That's it. Okay.
That's correct, Mike. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, moving on to the compute page, right? So on the top, you can see the VPC, the product, the on-demand time. So the VPC and the product are again cloud native, and like this, if you're importing it, it will just get imported by default, right? And then you can see a on-demand type, right? So this on-demand type is basically your fallback plan, right? So as I was saying, that there is an option to fall back to on-demand. So in case you do not find a spot instance, this is the on-demand type where your instance would fall back to, right?
Okay.
And now basically the thing that we are talking about, the spot market scoring, right? So this is where you can see the scoring of the spot markets, right? So basically the spot markets, as you can see, this spot market is basically the combination of the availability zone that I have selected and the instances I have selected, right? So if I
I like that. I really like the interface which is given at the bottom, which just makes it very easy. Given the number of instance types which we have, it can become quite difficult to just kind of think that, okay, let's say in this family, this size is there or not, this family, this size is there or not. I think this layout kind of makes it very easy, and with checkboxes, you are able to just quickly select and bring it, right? That's really nice.
Yeah, thanks, man. That's a good feedback. So yes, like we have been getting this feedback from our customers as well, that this is quite easy to visualize, right? So for example, if I just want to include a say T3 medium instance, right? So as you can see in this scoring here, T3 is not yet there, right? But if I just select, say, a T3 medium, a T3 medium will come into the picture, right? As you can see, the T3 medium came into picture, right? And it gives you the score. Right? So this is basically how you select instances and how you see the scores. right?
Okay.
But again, as I was mentioning earlier, we urge our customers to select as many instance types as possible, right? So we have distributed it based on general purpose, compute optimized, accelerated computing, so on and so forth. So you can just go to each and every component and you can just provide the instance types, and it will show you the score based on that.
Okay. So 2 points here. First,
Mhm.
I don't know if it is already there or maybe it might be coming. I don't know. But is it
Mhm.
like, let's say, if a customer is new? So there are two things, right? As
Mhm.
if there's a mature customer who's using for some time,
Mhm.
that customer will understand the recommendation and go ahead and select more instance types. But somebody who
Mhm.
is, let's say, comparatively new, doesn't
Mhm.
matter how much you say, that person or that customer might be slightly conservative in terms of selecting number of instance types. So do we
Mhm.
have some sort of recommendation or suggestion which can come probably on this screen, saying that we know the history, what you are selecting, based on that probably adding these instance types will make sense. Take a look, take the suggestion or leave it, but that suggestion could be really helpful, I think.
No, that's a very good point, Mayank. So basically, just to let you know, docs.spot.io is our official page, right?
Hmm.
And basically, you will get most of the informations here. So product related information, and for a particular product, you will get all the features and basically the like the best practices as well,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But just to come back to your question, we understand that it can, like,
No, it's
anybody who
fine.
is.
Maybe it could be a feature which comes later on. I'm just saying. I was just trying to think, right? Let's say, because for example, I've dealt with many types of customers, and many of them, they say, for example, if the system, see, like, I've dealt with many customers who say that if I'm doing something incorrect or if I'm doing something less optimal, why
Mhm.
system doesn't tell me, right? That type of
Exactly.
expectation also comes, right? So that was just a maybe more of a suggestion from my side, that if somewhere
Mhm.
here we start showing the suggestion as well, that based on what you're selecting, probably there
Mhm.
are others as well from the based on our knowledge, which you may select. It's up to you, you do or not, right? But if we start suggesting that, maybe it will be helpful. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, so basically it sort of comes in an information button where we
Hmm.
tell our
Okay.
customers to select as many of instances as required.
Hmm.
But again, Mac, that's a very, very important feedback, and that's where basically we as a customer success team comes into picture.
Hmm.
We are basically, like, I am a customer success engineer. I am dedicated to a certain set of customers, so
Hmm.
it's my job to make sure they are utilizing the most of the product, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
if there is some optimization that needs to be made, I do let them know at every point in
Yeah.
time. But yeah, again, I think that's a very good feedback from your end.
Okay, sure. So just one more thing which I wanted to ask quickly.
Mhm.
On the left-hand side, I'm able to see the availability zone,
Mhm.
US East 1A and 1B. So is it that
Mhm.
during editing we can add more availability zones also, or the availability zone kind of becomes fixed once we have created the Elastic group?
No, so just you can select or deselect at any point in time any availability zone you want.
No, but for example, in US,
Mhm.
okay, maybe it is more because of the VPC. The VPC which you have selected,
Exactly.
that has got subnets only in two availability zone.
Correct.
Let's say if I
Correct.
choose some other, let's say there is another VPC which I have selected, which has got subnets in three availability zones. So three availability zones will come up.
Exactly. That's correct.
Okay,
Right?
okay,
Because
I
see,
got that now.
these are again the native features or the proprietary features of the cloud provider itself, right? So we
No.
provide everything
I
with the.
understand.
Mhm.
Actually, I missed the VPC part, because VPC is selected, and you
Mhm.
are filling these things below based on the selected VPC. Hence, you are not showing
Exactly.
unnecessary availability zones where that VPC doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay, makes sense. All right. Yep.
Yep. So yeah, that's about spot market scoring. Again, these are the features, or these are the, again, the cloud native features that comes along with the Elastigroup, right? The AMIs, the security groups, all these type of informations you can provide. You can also
Hmm.
provide some additional tags, right? And we were talking about the stateful part, right? Stateful part. So this is where you select them, right? As you can see, you can enable persist root volume, right? Or persist data volume. And if you are selecting persist data volume, you can do either reattach or snapshot backups based on your requirement, right? And again, there is a maintain private IP. So if you want to maintain a private IP, you can do that by selecting these particular options. Right. And again,
I think I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but
no problem, no problem.
I think the stateful thing which has been done, this would make this particular product a lot more relevant for all the older applications, right?
Yep.
I think I mean, for example, all of us who work in the cloud space, we understand that if we are developing a new application, we always recommend that try to keep it stateless so that it doesn't matter if a particular machine comes up or goes down. But then we do have other workloads which are not developed as stateless, right? And that's where I think when this feature was not there, it used to become that roadblock, because of which people would say, how can I use the spot instances? I mean, okay, we understand it is very good. It will save a lot of money for me, but then how do I go ahead and use it? My workload is stateful, and that's where this thing comes in. I think this is a really good feature. Yep.
Yeah, that's entirely true, man. And also see things like, for example, say you are using a MongoDB cluster in your non-critical environments, right? For this, it is very useful to use, right? Because first of all, you are saving money because you are running the things on spot instances, right? And second is a thing like MongoDB, where if there is a certain interruption, it doesn't hinder the working of your system, right? Because your application can select the master based on the availability, right? It can switch masters, and a slave comes up and catches up to to the replication as well, right? So these type of things are very important when you are running something as a stateful application on your non-production clusters as well. Right? It saves you money and also provides you the data. You do not lose anything, which is very important.
Correct. So while we are there, one more question came in my mind, and that is that are we able to do some sort of scheduling here as well? For example, if I want that my, let's say every morning 9 a.m. my Elastigroup should become active, and then every evening 6 p.m. everything is gone. Is that type of thing also possible?
That's a great question, Mang, and yes, it is possible. We'll come to that on the scaling part, right?
Okay.
Right. So
okay, I think I just keep interrupting you. Okay, go ahead, please.
No. That's like absolutely fine, and it's very good to like have a conversation around these things, right? And with this brilliant question, it makes it even more interesting. So thanks, Mang, for bringing up these questions.
Sure. Yep.
And basically, yes, these are the integrations as well, right? So you can see you can integrate a Beanstalk, Chef, ECS, Kubernetes, though I would not recommend you doing a Kubernetes on that, because we have a lovely product for that as well. But again, just to talk about it, these are basically the integrations that you can do along with the Elastigroup, right?
Okay.
So coming to the next page, or the networking page, this is basically where you assign the Elastic load balancer, right? So if you have an existing load balancer, you can attach it. It can be without a load balancer as well. And basically, this is the intelligent traffic flow that I was talking about, right? So if you have these options as well, if you just want to select intelligent traffic flow, you just select the application load balancer, the target groups where you just want to bifurcate your traffic, so on and so forth.
So what it is showing at the top is that if you go with this intelligent traffic thing, then it won't use, I guess it won't use the existing target groups where the instances are currently there. Rather,
yes. So basically, you have to create different you have to create different target groups, right? Where it can basically bifurcate your load, right? So for example, I would take you to the document page. I think it will be more helpful, right, to understand from here. So basically how it is so for example, say you have created 3 target groups, right? And you can see this is basically having 8 vCPUs, right? Like, so if you are talking about this target group, the target group 1, it has 8 vCPUs, like 2 into 8 vCPUs. The second is 3 into 2, and the third is 3 into 4, right? So basically the weightage of each of these target groups are different, right? So how this traffic will flow is based on the availability of the vCPUs at these target groups, right? Not round robin. So whichever, if so, for example, this 2 into 8 vCPU, if like this is the max vCPUs you have, so this will receive the max traffic.
Right.
So it's based on that. So you have to create basically target groups, and on that basis, your traffic will be like moved to this particular target groups.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. Yep.
So, yep, I think we'll move on to the next part, which is basically predictive rebalancing, right? So I was talking about, right, that where the algorithm comes into picture, and so that feature which basically helps understanding when an instance is about to go away and replace it with another one. That feature is called predictive rebalancing, right? So this page entirely is named on predictive rebalancing, but it has other other things as well. So for example, where you can select the minimum, maximum, and your target instances, right?
Yeah, which would govern that how many instances I want to run, all those things.
Yes, that's correct, right? So again, the target is a dynamic thing, right? So for example, say if you are running, say 15 instances, right? And at a particular point in time, you got a scale, hike in your traffic, right? So you need to launch new instances. So new instances will be automatically launched, right? And when the traffic goes away, it will be automatically brought down to your, to the instances that you need. Right. So it takes care of scaling up and scaling down automatically, but it is within the bounds of what minimum and maximum you define.
Yep. Yep.
Then you can select the percent of spot instances, right? So as I was saying, you can always determine if you need certain percent to run on demand, you can do so. Right. You can either set the percentage of spot instances, or you can just set it static, like static number of on demand, that run these many of on demand instances, something like that. Next is basically your optimization strategy, whereas fallback to on demand, right? So this is where it falls back to on demand, where it do not get a spot instance. Right. And again, we have kept it as an option because, say, for example, you are running a dev cluster where you do not need to fall back to on demand, right? You will wait for another spot instance to come up. So for those cases, it's an option for you.
Yeah, or for that matter, let's say there is a backend batch processing which doesn't have really that stringent end timeline. So it's okay. I mean, I need not go to on demand. Let there be an interruption for some time. Once the spot instances are available again, I'll do the processing at lower cost.
That's correct. Okay. That's correct.
Yep. Okay. Good.
And another part is utilizing commitment plan. So this is where basically you can even use your reserved instances, right? So how it works is, see, if you are reserving something, right, you have already paid for it. If you are using on demand or spot, that is what you like. It's sort of you have not made that payment, or you have not reserved it, right? So if only you use it, you are paying for it. Correct. But for reserved instance or any type of commitments, you have already committed. So either you are utilizing or not, you have to pay us a recurring amount to the cloud provider, right? Yep. So basically what we check is, we continuously check that, do you have any underutilization of commitment plans in your system, right? And if you have that, we give that preference. So if you have, say, 50% of your reserved instances underutilized, we will first give preference to those reserved instances. And only when it is utilized, we launch spot and then go back to on demand.
Wow, this is really nice. And I think I don't know about small organizations, but in the big organizations where generally a lot of reservation is done, many of the times we have seen that, yes, it happens, that reservation was not fully utilized. And I think this option automatically takes care of that. It gives the preference to that reservation thing, so that is fully utilized, and then only we go to the other types of usage.
And this is where, see, this slide makes sense. Basically, this graph, it shows this over provisioning is cut off by these particular features, where it makes sure whatever is there, whatever you are paying for, you are utilizing it first, and then only you are paying extra, right? So yes, this is obviously a very good feature that where you can optimize your commitment plans. And moving forward, basically there is something called cluster orientation, right? Which you get normally 4 options here, right? Where balanced is the most recommended. So this is basically the weightage to your availability and price, right? So balanced is basically, it gives a balanced weightage to your cost and availability, whereas availability gives more weightage to your availability than your like cost, right? Things like this. But again, this is always recommended to run balanced because this takes care of itself. But in cases where you need more availability, you select availability. So for example, what happens in availability is, say a case happened where Spot was not there, so instance was launched on an on-demand, right? So the part where I was talking about the continuous optimization, where it keeps on checking if a Spot became available again or not, and then it moves back to Spot, that won't happen if you're selecting availability. It will keep on running on the on-demand.
Okay.
Right. So these type of things are there, right? In case it is required by a customer. It also has things like cost, right? What a cost will do, it will continuously check if there are cheaper market available to run your instances, right? And even if there is no interruption, it will move your application to a cheaper instance if it finds a cheaper one, right?
This is like, okay, over optimize for cost in that way. Like
Yeah,
as much
exactly.
as possible, it will try to, okay.
Correct. So if you're very stringent, if you want to do this on sort of your dev clusters or something, you can do so. And there's again cheapest, which is again, it will not launch an instance if it is higher than a certain budget, right? So these are the different types of
that aligns to that model where we used to submit a bid saying that this is the maximum I am ready to pay, right? Nowadays, people are not talking a lot about it, but that model still exists for that matter. But yeah, okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. But the best part is balanced. If you select this, it will take care of both your availability.
Yeah, let system govern it and do the best what it does, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And again, this is continuous optimized. This is the place where I was talking about that if you just enable this, right, it will move back from on-demand to Spot in case at certain point of time on-demand is running, right? And you can do it as once available, or you can just use custom to do it. Right. Okay. So if you want that for a particular period in time, I just need this move back at a particular point in time, you can select to do so.
Yeah, so maybe based on the business requirement, I can, if I know a certain window is better for me to move back, then I specify that.
Correct. So for example, you do some at between say 5 to 7 p.m. you do something for which your system needs to be up at any point in time. You do not want any hindrance, right? You do not. So at those cases, you just select this if required. Right? You have that.
Okay. Yep.
And next is basically instance availability. So this is where you can select a minimum instance lifetime, right? So we selected the Spot scores and the Spot instances, right? What this, you can think this as a subset of the instances that we selected in the compute part, right? This just gives you the scoring based on hours. So for example, say you need to run a job process, right? A batch process for 2 hours. Right. So you need the availability for minimum 3 hours. So you just select 3 hours and see what scores gives you the best one. And you can select a preferred availability zone and instance type based on that. Again, these are Spot instances. It is not guaranteed, right? Because we do not know when it is taken away, right? AWS can, so if you are using AWS, it can take away at any point in time. But again, it gives you a score based on which you can get a probability. Right?
Yeah, you again, can get all a probability, and then I think more than that, and over and above that, we have to follow the practice that try and select more instance types, so that your chances of getting the instance always is high. Then
correct, absolutely. Right. So, but again, this is a good feature where you can, if you have a preference of a availability zone or instance type, you can select it over the other ones.
I'm just getting a small confusion. So in that one of the, I think in the compute tab also we were seeing a heat map. Here also we are seeing the heat map. What is the
Correct.
difference between the two? What are we selecting different here and there?
That's a great question. And to answer you, the difference is the minimum instance lifetime. So if you go to the compute, right, you see there is no time here. You just select instances and you just see scores. Whereas in predictive rebalancing, this score which is coming is based on this time. So if I am changing 3 hours to 24 hours, you see the scores changes.
Right. Okay.
Right. So say for example,
I that part I understood. So sorry, but let's say here looking at this, let's say I selected 12 hours or 6 hours, and I selected based on that, looking at the heat map, I selected in the preferred spot type, certain instance types I selected. So is it like whatever I had selected in that first compute tab, out of that I'm saying these are the preferred ones? That's what I mean. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
It will give preference to those instance types.
Okay. Makes sense.
And if it's not there, obviously it will fall back to the other ones, but it's just for preference purposes.
So if I have to summarize, in that compute tab, you should select all the instance types as much as possible. You should select so that you have a bigger number of, let's say you have more number of candidates, so that from all those candidate instance types, system has an option to go ahead and launch the instances.
Correct.
That is one. But here in the predictive rebalancing tab, those instance types which you want that these should get preference, system should pick these up first. Those only you should select here.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Also, just to mention, this is something which is not mandatory. You can opt or not. Right. So only if the need is there, you just select it. Else, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to, this is like going one step further and saying, because from the history, I'm able to see for 6 hours of running, this instance type has higher score.
Correct.
Let me give that as the preference. Otherwise, if you don't want to do, also don't do, then system will figure it out basically.
Correct. Exactly. Also see things like that. So for example, you want to run something on a Graviton instance, right? And you want to give preference to a Graviton instance first rather than the Intel instances, this type of things, right?
Yeah.
So there you can use this type of preference.
Okay. Makes sense.
So yeah, basically the next part is the scaling part. Okay, just select this. So the scalings are normal scaling, which you get with an auto scaling group, right? You can just give upscaling or downscaling policies. If you do not give anything, it just adjust as per the resource usage, right? But you can provide a scaling policy. Just for example, if you want, you can give a CPU scaling policy, right? Like this policy is already there, so it is taking from CloudWatch, AWS CloudWatch, right?
This is quite similar to our auto scaling, so I think we can just skip that part. That is simple. So here only you are saying we have that scheduling thing, yeah, right?
Yes, correct. So basically, the scheduling in the add task, you can define at what point in time this task should be running, right? So if you want, you can provide this. Comes with a normal cron expression, and at this particular cron expression, you can schedule it to run.
What makes stuff?
And last but not the least, basically when you go to the review page, right? Here you can see that basically along with the summary, you can also see it on as part of a JSON or a CloudFormation or a Terraform, right? And
nice.
Yes, you can edit just from here, right? You do not need to just go through each and every page, every format. You can, so for example, if you need to change the targets or the capacity, right? Or if you need to add some more instances to your whitelisting, right? You can just do it from here.
Right? Or basically pick up the CloudFormation or Terraform code from here, give to your engineers.
Correct.
And thereafter they use that as more as the basic template and then just edit whatever they want and quickly deploy.
Exactly. That's totally correct. Right. And again, you have API also. You can, like, if when I was talking about the docs page, right? If you just go to the bottom of it, you will go to the API reference, right? And if you go to the API reference, if you just go to Elastigroup AWS, you will see all sort of calls that you can make through this, right?
Yeah, so if somebody wants to.
Yeah, exactly. So even this type of API calls are also available. So If you can see here, you can just create Elastigroup, list, update, delete, all this type of activities also you can perform from here.
Superb.
Right.
Superb. So I think that is really good. I think we have covered good amount. One thing which surely somebody would be interested to know is that if we want to go ahead and use the product for our organization, how does the billing work? Like how much a Spot or let's say Elastigroup usage will cost them? Of course, there is a clear saving which will be there, but then how much does it cost? How does the pricing model work? If you can explain that would be good.
Yeah, that's a great question, Mang. So basically, I'll give you an overview. So how we charge our customers, basically ours is a success based model, right? And we charge a certain percentage on what we are saving for you.
Okay.
Right. So for example, you can see the savings here, right? So whatever savings we have generated for you, we charge X% of that savings. Okay. If we are not able to generate any savings for you, we do not charge anything. Right.
Okay.
Now, what that percent will be, I am not the best person to answer that. I'm a technical guy, but if you are interested, I can align my account manager to it. Right. There are various ways to it. Like there are pay as you go models, there are commitment sort of models. So the percentage differs on the way of deal.
That depends on the deal. Let's leave it there.
Correct.
But it is a percentage model on the saving. That's how it is.
Exactly.
Okay. Makes sense. Right. Good. I think we covered a lot of stuff. So, but as such, in order to let's talk about the free trial thing, right? For somebody to go ahead and try it out first, how much or what is covered in free trial? Let's say somebody wants to try out first. So how much can they try in as part of free trial?
20 instances. So
20 instances.
Okay. Yeah, if you see here, I think basically these are the plans that it talks about, right? So there is a basic plan and there's a professional plan, right? So basically, when somebody signs up, even this basic plans is chargeable, but there is a trial plan, as you mentioned, starting plan to it, which will come up if you are using it, and it is restricted to 20 instances. So you can use 20 instances without any cost.
Okay, so anybody can go ahead and try it out, and maybe I guess those 20 instances, if they want to do a trial, they can do for 1, 2, 3 months and first see.
Yes.
Right. There is no limit on that trying it out for X some number of days or things like that.
That's correct. There isn't any limitation on time. You can try it out as long as you want, but the number of instances are limited.
Okay. That's okay. Makes sense. Good. I think that was a really good topic. I think first, thanks a lot for investing a lot of time and energy here and in showing the demo. I hope that our folks got to learn something out of it. And I think the best thing would be to go ahead and try it out. Maybe pick up your application and go ahead. 20 instances. I think it's a good limit. You should be able to run a couple of your applications, which are running on multiple instances, and go ahead and put them on Spot instances, and then go ahead and see whether the product is able to run it or not, and that will give you confidence that whether how can you go ahead and look at some of your other applications which you are probably which we never thought about running it on Spot. Now we can probably think about that, right? Okay, one more related question. I'm sure that will help others. Whether as part of this free trial also, people can go ahead and do that stateful feature on those 20 instances. Is it covered?
Yes, they can do everything that for 20 instances.
Good stuff. Then I think there is no reason for us to not try it, right? At least somebody who I know of organizations who are quite heavy on cloud, but if you go ahead and try to see, they won't be using Spot instances because of the known reasons, right? So I think with this stateful feature coming in there, people should go ahead and try it and then decide, right? How does it work? Yeah.
No, definitely, Bang. So first of all, the pleasure is mine. You have been doing an awesome job in the channel, and I'm happy that I am able to be a small part of it. But yes, like the Spot by NetApp products are very much efficient, and I'm very proudly saying this, that we are seeing smile on our customers after using that. They are by themselves awed that how it can be done in real life. So as you mentioned, the truth comes when you try it on, right? Please do hands-on. Please, I would encourage and urge everybody to try it out, right? If there are any problems, I am always there. You can reach me out at any point in time. I'll be there to help you out. And yep, once you try it, then only you know how good it is for your applications, right? And the best part, as I was saying, that it's properly seamless. You do not have to do a lot of manual effort. So it's just a one-time integration you do, and it scales from there.
Right. Okay, good. So what I'll do is I am gonna put all the relevant links in the description, folks, for you, so that you can go ahead and check it out. I'll also put probably the details of Shobik, the social details of Shobik, so you can reach out to Shobik in case required if you have some real genuine doubts. In addition to that, the relevant documentation links and the links to get started will be there in the description section. Go ahead, get started. It is for free. Try it out and then take it ahead from there. With that, we'll go ahead and close it. Thank you. Bye-bye. Congrats on completing that tutorial. We have a lot more similar awesome tutorials on our channel which you can go through in the playlist section. Let us know what do you think about our videos in the comment section, and if you like it, please do share it with your friends and hit the like button. Thank you.